excited. But that means you have to have a decoder too, which means you have another orb that you're not giving me. I'll bite your dick off. Give me that other orb. Hello, one and all. My name is Taleic, and we are back again with some more Spyro the Dragon. Now, last time we just did our Mystic Marsh, and we were able to take on the little scavenger hunt dealio we had going on over there, which is, I think, probably my top 3 favorite levels in this game. Just because it feels big and small at the same time. It's kind of crowded, but it has like a lot of diversity. I don't know, I like all the animals and all the creatures they use in that one. And I feel bad for killing everything. Especially because like the elephants and all that stuff are like part of the environment. And I just kind of feel bad killing all of those. But it is what it is. I also noticed as well when I was doing some editing and whatnot, the fruits that the Zubumafu kept throwing at me, they looked like they were Wumpa fruits from Crash Bandicoot. And I could be wrong. I mean, it's a pretty common color scheme for apples, but that's just what it looked like to me, and I thought that was cool. Today, we are going to head over here and take on our little level down this way, the Cloud Temples. This is the one that I originally thought was the scavenger hunt area until I remembered and realized that there was a thing on the other side. He's very happy about that. So this one we get to play around with some ice magic. If I remember correctly, we gotta kind of like jump on ice blocks or whatnot. This is kind of Spyro's first attempt at doing something a little different from the flame breath. And it's pretty cool. I can't remember if they really play around with ice at all in the third game, but they do. Oops. They do play around with different breaths and whatnot in Enter the Dragonfly, which that game got a lot of criticism, and I'm not gonna say I didn't have my issues with that game. It was the first Spyro game for the PS2, and it's technically the 4th one in the series.
I used to be one of Avalar's most powerful magicians, until that big warlock over there stole my wand. He and his friends have used the magic within to take over the city.
I'll fix that for you, don't even worry about it. But in the 4th one, with Enter the Dragonfly, they actually do kind of expand on the game a little bit, because with the series entering into the... Gosh darn it, you got me with that double hit. With the game entering into the PS2 era, you know, everything was supposed to have better graphics and all that. You know, Spyro was already kind of everything that it could have been by the 3rd game, with the abilities that they had, the extras that they do with Sparks, the extra characters they let you play and everything. Like by that point they'd done a lot with the game, and so they had to think of ways to kind of expand it and whatnot. And I don't know if the Game Boy Advance games came out before or after Enter the Dragonfly, because one of the Game Boy Advance games is just regular fire and everything, but the other one, I think it was Season of Ice or something, let you play around with, I want to say, Ice Breath, possibly others as well. What the heck are you? What did I... Okay. But with Enter the Dragonfly, they wanted to introduce a different concept, and so you have your typical Spyro platforming, which is just levels like this. You know, it's cut and dry, move from point A to point B, it's linear. You've got your puzzles to solve and everything like that, but then they added the ability to unlock and use different breaths, which added another aspect of the game. So with this one, you had to, over time, accumulate different abilities to be able to go back and collect what you missed in certain levels, be it the ladder or the head bash or swimming or whatever. And you slowly gain all those things and you're able to go back and collect everything. We're at that point right now where we can go collect everything. with that one, since Spyro, the one thing that I hate about a lot of games that they don't do in Spyro is you get to keep all of your abilities in the continuations of the game. So when Spyro 3 comes out, we're already going to have our head bash and our ladder climbing and all that kind of stuff. We already know how to do that, so why would the game just take it away, you know? And that continues, so since you already know all these abilities and then in the Dragonfly, you have to make it differ somehow. So with the third game, they continue to add those kinds of trials by using characters. You unlock the characters, you unlock the ability to go back and complete levels. So now in the fourth one... Oh, that was interesting. So in the fourth one, they add the breaths. So you get these like stone tablets or whatever, you unlock breaths, and you can do different things. So you have like a bubble breath that you use to capture the dragonflies. You get like, I think, lightning breath and different things like that. And you're able to use all these different breath types. Because you're like a special purple dragon, and I guess the purple dragon is able to use like different breaths. Something like that. It was something along those lines. The fact that you're purple plays into the plot of Spyro when they actually started adding detail to it. Because the first three games, there wasn't really a whole lot of like lore, really, to like Spyro himself. It was always just the worlds he was in. But eventually, after you start having games that just take place in the Dragon Realm, it starts adding to the lore of Spyro as opposed to anybody else. And so you get all these different breaths and everything. Anyway, I don't even remember why I started having this conversation. It's just something. I love the Spyro series, so it's just something. But you get all these different breaths and whatnot, and you get to do different things. And so this level, I think, was where they first started experimenting with that. Because we're getting pretty close to it. There's an area where I think we have to like turn guys into ice cubes and then like jump on their heads and whatever to ring a doorbell or something. It's all very simplistically complicated. And they continue to expand it and that. And then, so that game had its issues. It was the first game for the PS2, so they added all these things to try to make it, you know, cool and whatever, you know, make it unique. And, it's just like, I don't know what the deal was with it, because I don't know if it was just me or if it was an issue that a lot of people had, but I always had issues with the game freezing, like, because the loading times were kind of long, and if anything weird happened while it was trying to load, it wouldn't be like the game freezes, but it was kind of like with the old consoles, if you took the disc out while you were playing the game would continue to play, but you wouldn't be able to load anything that's new. And so if you ever took a disc out of a PS1 or a PS2, like, while you're on a loading screen, it'll just perpetually stay on that loading screen. I don't have enough dudes for that. And so that's kind of what it felt like, because you would be on a loading screen, and they had, like, these dynamic loading screens where you would jump on a platform, like an elevator or something, and it would go up, and the loading screen would be while you're on this elevator that's rising, and so everything is moving around with you. And so it's all loading while it's doing that. Miss me! How did he just let you stand there and not, like, try to murder you?
Spyro, you have freed our city from the claws of those evil warlocks. Please, take this orb. I foresee that it will help you on your journey.
Kind of. Not in particular. So yeah, you'd be basically stuck in this perpetual loading screen, just going up and up and up, or to the side, or glide, whatever, you know, whatever that loading screen was. Oh, this is the ice power up. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I don't know why those are all over the place.
Our mystical bell towers have been overrun by trolls, and the bells haven't been rung in days. I tried a fire spell on the trolls, but that just made them crazier. This Super Freeze power-up will chill out the trolls, but we really need the bells to ring. They'll ring if you charge into them.
Oh, okay, So it really isn't anything special because it's not like a new flame or anything. It's just a power up. And it's kind of like projectiles, like they do with everything else. Like with the fire projectiles, it's the same thing, it's just a fireball. I don't know why you're over here. But yeah, it's, you kind of get the, oh wait, I get it. I need to be on top of you. Oh no! Oh, I can't ring it multiple times? I really like that ding ring. Are you gonna come up here? There we go. But yeah, it's like a projectile. It's like, they didn't really do anything special as far as like setting up how the ability works. It works the same as the fire power-up. It's just, they programmed it to,
I suppose you want an
things.
orb for doing that. Well, I'm afraid not. There's still one bell left. You can get to it by using the whirlwind behind me.
Thanks, prick. You gotta be a douche about it. Wait. Is there another guy that's supposed to be coming around? Oh, you're like stuck. That's interesting. Oh, fix that guy. I don't know. It's all a bunch of long, complicated garbage, and it's just, what is this? How am I supposed to? I'm gonna have to figure out how to glitch it, I guess. Alright, let's see if we can figure this out. Okay, that's too high. Can I freeze you? No. Gonna work if you're gonna be broken. Oh, it's broken! What do I do? Dang it, I'm gonna have to kill myself, aren't I? Hopefully you guys fix that at some point. Alright, so I'm gonna have to end myself in order to fix that. My train of thought is super lost. So much stuff going on all at once, and thinking about things and not thinking about things, and my brain is just like, and I've had a cup of coffee and my brain's just like, yeah, that's what my brain does in coffee. Yeah, it used to be I had to drink like a shitload of coffee, and then I would get like really bad coffee shakes. But I don't know. My ability to resist caffeine is slowly deteriorating. I think it's because I don't drink as much soda as I used to.
I'm a secret agent. I'm going to my secret hideout. Only members of my secret club are allowed to go there. I'm not leaving unless you hide behind that tree so you can't see me.
I love this guy. He's one of my favorite characters. Haha, I was behind a tree. Unfortunately for you, I have a weird third-person camera view. I did it! First try.
What? You managed to get here without following me? You must be a member of my secret club after all. Here, take this secret decoder. It will allow us to send secret messages.
I'm excited. But that means you have to have a decoder too, which means you have another orb that you're not giving me. I'll bite your dick off. Give me that other orb. Can I talk to you some more? I can't do anything to these drawers. I want to get up on that wall. Oh well. I don't know. My favorite of the PS2 games, though, is A Hero's Tale. And I think that one did get better reviews than the Dragonfly one. I don't understand why the Enter the Dragonfly got as bad reviews as it did. I mean, as a kid, even with it like freezing up and everything, I didn't really have a whole lot of... I didn't have any money. My family didn't really have a ton of money to be able to go out and buy games all the time. So what we had was kind of what we had, and we had to trade games in and out every once in a while. Back in the day, GameStop had better tradings than they do now, but it is what it is. I think mostly because back then everything was a hard copy. You couldn't do digital whatevers or anything now, like you do now. So it was what it is. I need to die real quick so that gets reset. Oh, hopefully that fixes it. So I don't know why it got as bad reviews as it did. Which it wasn't like terrible, I don't think, but I think it was like 40% or something like that. Which I still thought was not what it deserved. I thought it was pretty interesting. It still implemented some different game mechanics and concepts and whatnot, so I don't know, I thought it was fine. These stores not open back up? That's interesting. Is it because I get to do the mission over again, or is he just not in there? Yeah, that door's closed too. But then A Hero's Tale came out, and it kind of took the best of both worlds. It's been so long since I played it, and I think I do still have Hero's Tale for the PS2. And it's one of those games where it's like, I want to set up, well, my PS2 technically is set up now, I set it up more recently. I want to kind of go back into it and play it again. Do I have to ring the bells again? I do.
Ah, mystical...
Oh well, hopefully these guys can reset. But yeah, A Hero's Tale did the best of both worlds. It's been so long since I played it, I don't remember if you have the multiple breath options in that game. I think you might. You don't have the bubbles. I think I remember that. But if I remember properly, I think... See, A Hero's Tale to me felt more like Jak and Daxter. It had like a darker feel to it, because you had to get all the dark crystals and everything. And I think that's what they were going for. Because Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and all those were like the big popular games by the time that game came out. And so they ended up doing that. They had like a darker feel to it. Everything felt more serious. And it was the first game where you actually got to genuinely play as Hunter. But they brought back the nice concepts of the third game because they... No. Because they did once again make it so that you could... Anyway, they brought back the ability to play characters, and they added newer, different characters that you could play. So you could play as Hunter, you got to play as the professor's son or nephew, grandson, one of those. I can't forget the here. Which his name was Blink. He was a mole, and he climbed around and dug and stuff like that, and he had little gadgets.
Spyro,
I think you could play as Bentley again.
Here, have a souvenir from the Cloud Temple's gift shop.
Thanks, mate. I think you could play Bentley again, which is the Yeti. And beyond that, I don't fully remember who else you could play. I gotta get him when he's over here. Because I think there was at least one other character that you could play. But then everything also, they did it differently. It was the first Spyro game I think I played where they didn't have like portals and like level selects. They actually had more of like an open dynamic world where you had to go from point A to point B. Kind of like the first Jak and Daxter, well, I guess all the Jak and Daxters, where to get to the different levels you had to literally just go there, you know? And it was all dynamic. Things would load as you progressed. And I like that aspect, because it takes away from, you know, the terrible loading times. It just kind of loads as you go, which I think is a good way to do it. I'll jump up. And I thought that was cool. So Hero's Tale is easily one of my favorites. Oh, I think down there again. Gosh dang it. And yeah, so it's just one of my favorites for that. And so, yeah, this was kind of like the first little snippet. Wait, I don't want to go that way. This is the first little snippet of how they were going to kind of expand the game later on. Because this game is where they first started doing like real abilities. Because in the very first game, they obviously gave you the fire that melts metal. That's great. Yeah, so the first game did kind of a very basic concept. You had your supercharge, and you had your fairy breath, which let you break fire and whatnot. And so it was all interesting and cool and whatnot. And yeah, so those two abilities kind of like were the beginning. It was the starting point. And then this game added projectiles, the swallows, like the physical abilities that you can do. They added the ice breath and the invincibility that lets you walk on water and, you know, the death water and whatnot. And, you know, so they've expanded on it. The third game expands on it further. You know, you get your characters. Spyro gets even more abilities when it comes to, like, power-ups. But it does kind of rehash some of the originals with your projectiles and whatnot. But they kind of go further with the... If I remember right, I don't remember if this was the third one or if this was the... one of the other two for the PS2, either Dragonfly or Hero's Tale. But they had they expanded on the invincibility. There was a level that there was clear water that you could swim in, but that clear water was acid, and so you would, you know, drown in it and hurt in it just like you would, you know, regular death material. You know, you die from death poisoning. But if you had the invincibility, you could swim in it and swim under it, and there was like this whole like acid pirate theme kind of thing going on. But it looked like, if I remember right, it's like a pirate ship graveyard kind of thing. If you've played, you know what I'm talking about. There were birds everywhere that you had to kill and whatnot. As a kid, I always thought it was difficult. Not because of like what it was, but I just got really lost really easily in it, which seems kind of dumb to me. There's a lot of like dumb things that got me stuck as a little kid that just don't do that now. But I don't know. And that's today's episode. This is the history and expansion of Spyro the Dragon. After A Hero's Tale, you know, they did that. They had the Legend of Spyro series, which I liked, but I had to think of that game as its own separate thing, because it is its own separate thing. It's a rehash of the original Spyro games. Like, it's starting from the beginning, hence the first game being A New Beginning. And so I can appreciate it for what it was, because I knew it was intended to be a different game. But, like, when they sold the ownership of Spyro, the Skylanders took it, like, I will never forgive that. Like, I don't know if it was the company was low on money, they had no more ideas, or what it was, but it eventually got... They sold the rights to Spyro, which I think is who still owns it. I'm fairly certain Activision, or whoever that did this game, is the ones that own Skylanders. You can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But Skylanders just straight up just fucked up Spyro. Like, pardon me, but fuck you. I don't know what the fuck you thought that was, but that was absolute garbage. And you know, it was mostly because that game was meant for 5-year-olds. But what they did to Spyro, I feel like would terrify and scare 5-year-olds. So I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. This is what Spyro is and always was meant to be. When Universal still had Spyro and they made these 3 games, or maybe Universal made the second 2 games. I want to say Universal did all 3, but I don't remember. These were the best games in the series, just because they were the classics, they were the originals. But it felt like they did what they wanted to do. They achieved what they wanted to achieve with Spyro. They did it well. They didn't overextend the games. They kind of had them right where they needed to be, because it doesn't need to be a long 300-hour open-world experience. It's a platformer that has always felt like it was more than most of your typical platformers, like Rayman and all that kind of stuff. Because with your dragon, it was something. This was unique. You know, it wasn't Crash Bandicoot. It wasn't Rayman. It wasn't Jack and Dexter. It was its own thing, and I love it. And I'm rambling way too much. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know how I'm doing in the comments below. I will see all y'all in the next one. Robot.